Hello and welcome. The mighty Montblanc 149. This fountain pen has been around for 70 years, and the Meisterstück line has been around for 100 years. So here it is now. Is it still a good time to buy this iconic fountain pen? Is the Montblanc 149 still relevant today? So join me, won't you, as I discuss whether now is the right time to buy the Montblanc 149 Meisterstück. So there's always a lot to say about the Montblanc 149. There is a lot of pen here. It is a beautiful submarine-shaped girthy fountain pen with a lot of presence, with a commanding look. It's a sort of pen that will give you quite a bit of confidence as you go out into public. Of course, it's probably the only brand of fountain pen that the society at large would recognize by logo alone. So there's something to be said about all these associations, the history behind Montblanc, and everything else. And of course, with that, there's a whole lot of baggage. And I'm going to go through a lot of the positives and quite a bit of the negatives as we proceed in this video. And I think I want to start with one of the big negatives, and that is all of the elitist and frankly sort of douchey associations with the Montblanc 149. And I think it's undeniable that these are the sorts of fountain pens and pens that people buy simply to show that they can, simply to show off their wealth and their positions in life, but that doesn't mean that's you. Just because anyone misuses an object or appropriates it to show a different side of their personality has no bearing on you or me or anyone else who's not part of that. There are those of us that look at these things for their history, for their heritage, for their construction. The fact that these beautiful two-tone nibs are still handmade, that they're extraordinary, that they're great. And besides, you don't have to buy these new. I say this all the time, and I think it's very, very important to make a big point here today, and that is pick it up used. I've seen the Montblanc 149 for $300, even $400 at fountain pen shows. It's commonly available around 5 or 6 in pretty good shape, and even if you get one that's a little bit cosmetically challenged, a bit of polywatch on the material will shine it up very nicely, or even just a hand polishing with a soft cloth. Who cares about micro scratches? This is the patina of a fountain pen that's well used. As long as everything works, as long as it writes well, then cosmetic issues are far less important. But I think the bigger point is that just because there's someone who is buying a fountain pen just to show off doesn't mean that that has to affect your enjoyment of it in any way. Let people do what they want with whatever they have and just enjoy it on your own terms with your own associations. That's the most important part for me, because this fountain pen does have some incredible advantages, and let's talk about some of those right now. First off, these nibs are brilliant. The one thing I've always adored about my 149 is this incredible two-tone nib that just writes so smoothly, so expressively, and so reliably. So many of my fountain pens through the years have had certain sweet spots that I had to be aware of, certain skipping and slow starting issues and different things like that. And I've just never had those issues with my 149 or frankly with any of my Montblancs. And if I did and I bought them new, I would send them back and do a nib exchange, or I would exercise my rights under the warranty. I just wouldn't put up with it. But I think if you are putting this kind of money out, at least in return, you're getting reliability, functionality, and an iconic old design. I think one of the other things that's rather fun with Montblanc these days is that they are definitely upping their game in the advertising and promotion of their own products and putting a lot more emphasis on the fountain pen line, which is nice because even though it is what put Montblanc on the map, it appears that over the years they started to not pay as much attention and to rely a little bit more on their core products and these more, frankly, overwrought fountain pens. So it's refreshing to see them put an emphasis back on craftsmanship, on writing, and on fun projects like the upcoming Wes Anderson collaboration, which I just had to have. But I just feel that it's kind of a good time to get into Montblanc because they're offering a lot of calligraphy classes through their website. And by the way, you don't even have to be a Montblanc user to sign up for those. And they also have many more being posted to YouTube, which is very, very handy. So it's kind of a fun time. It seems like the brand has a little bit more motivation to make pens and reach out to the fountain pen community. And to me, I like that kind of engagement. I like seeing a brand that is actively trying to satisfy the needs of a fountain pen writer. And when you get a big company like Montblanc that has leather goods and all these other items, watches and whatnot now, it's nice to see them taking care of their core business and keeping the fountain pen community a little bit more engaged, a little happier. So I think something else you need to be aware of with the Montblanc 149 is that it's a very large pen, and so it's a very noticeable pen. So depending on your circumstances and where you are, it's a pen that's going to attract a bit of attention, and some of that could be negative. So it's not a pen you want to leave lying around, especially if you're on campus somewhere or anywhere else where there's a lot of people that you don't know milling about. It's a pen you want to keep your eye on. I know when I travel with mine, my hand is often reaching to make sure it's in its proper place. It's just, there's a much more sense of loss if you lose one of these grail level pens. And for me, my 149 is irreplaceable because this fountain pen has been with me since the beginning of my marriage and so many adventures with my wife, so many trips, the day my daughter was born, all kinds of fun stuff. It's just been done with this fountain pen. So I would hate to lose this one. And since it is so large and it has that logo that people recognize, it's just something you just really want to be aware of. You want to track it, and you don't want to just leave it casually lying about if you're in a public or semi-public place. In relating to the history that I've had with this fountain pen, that kind of connection isn't formed overnight, and it takes time to really get to know a pen. It takes a few months of actually using it before you really bond with it. And I think there's something to be said for having these very special pens in our lives. That if you were going to make a list of your favorite pens, they would consistently be in the top 5 or certainly near it. And that's how it is with the 149 and me. In fact, over the last 12 months or so, or close to 12 months, it's been idle. It's been sitting in my collection, cleaned, kind of waiting for my attention again. And I've seen it as I've reached for other pens, and I often take it out, I look at it, I see how the light plays with the nib. I love it when it's empty and you can see right through the ink level windows. These ink level windows are some of my favorites. I love how they're crafted in the barrel of the pen. And like any ink level window, they give you an idea of where your ink level is, but so does the weight. After much time, you just know. And you also know by the performance, don't you? You can tell as your pen is about to run out of ink long before it really shows the signs, because you know your pens. And that doesn't happen in a day or 3 days. You definitely have to use it for a while. You have to integrate it into your life, into your rotation. For me, the Montblanc 149 is that kind of pen. It's just so easy and it just fits into my life. I think another thing too is don't limit yourself to just writing with it. Think of this as what it is. It's a writing tool. It's a writing instrument, but you can also draw with it. It's all about making a line. So why not use it for sketching, for being creative? I feel like it's been sort of pushed more as a creative tool. I've seen a lot of posts on social media, some from Montblanc, some from other people, of people using the 149 far beyond the business world and into more creative fields, people drawing with them, people sketching, people getting them out into the sunlight, which I always love to see. I love to see fountain pens out in the field. And I think with a pen like this that holds a lot of ink, that just writes so reliably, that's such a joy to use and has all this history and everything else, it's a lot of fun to kind of break it out of its staid mold and bring it into a more creative framework. So there are no limits to what you can do with this pen. It's all about drawing a line, so why not take those lines to some extremes? For me, it's always a rediscovery when I go into my fountain pen collection and I see a pen like the 149 that maybe I haven't used in a few months. And then it's all about reconnecting again, and I rediscover all those things that I love about it, including picking an ink. In this case, I've often used royal blue. For years, it was royal blue in my Montblanc 149, but I've since moved on to midnight blue because I like that darker shade. I like a bit of black and blue in it, a little more presence. I don't think I've had black ink in this fountain pen, if ever, certainly in a very long time. I think that would be interesting too, because it's always nice to have the same color as your pen. But nevertheless, I love when I re-ink this pen, my first few strokes. I love writing letters with this pen. I love taking it out in the field to museums and journaling and just doing all those things that I enjoy about fountain pens. So to me, the relevance is there. There's nothing that beats the classics. It's the iconic design. It's the fact that it has been around for about 70 years that makes it that much more compelling. But regardless, this pen has so many historic connotations, from JFK using it to myself using it for the past 10 years. It's just been a joy. So as a fountain pen, I would say this pen is as relevant as it ever was. It might be slightly old-fashioned in its styling, but that's what makes it iconic and interesting to someone like me who prefers items from an older time, a more gentle time. I like everything retro. I like analog devices, handwritten notes, thank you cards, manners, nice clothes, and just sort of a sense of propriety and decency. And the Montblanc fountain pen just fits perfectly into my world. I think I do romanticize my life a bit, and I think that's a healthy thing. I think it's good to luxuriate in the moments, in these little items, things like fountain pens, papers, tactile things, inks. It's all rather wonderful, and if you're not appreciating it, then why do it? I just think with anything, it's good to take your time to enjoy it and to really get to know it. So for me, the Montblanc 149 is one of those pens that I've been committed to for so long and is so ingrained in my life that I just feel like I'll always have it near me. So you can build your legend around any fountain pen. I think making the leap to a fountain pen is cool at any level, whether it's a Lamy Safari or a Montblanc 149. And if you do go for this particular pen, I do think secondhand is the best way to go. But once you get it, it's so great to have it ingrained into your life. Such a reliable pen, such a comforting presence. The longevity is spectacular, and it's just a reliable writer through and through. So if you're going to choose it, it's as good a time as any to begin your journey with this amazing fountain pen. So, what do you think of the Montblanc 149? Is it already in your collection? Is it a fountain pen you'd like to add? Let me know in the comments. And if you've reached this point in the video, please subscribe. I'd love to have you on this journey with us. So I make new videos all the time, and I have a live show each week. So I can promise you we will see each other again very soon, further up the road. So take care.